I'm going to start off. You're just going to have to deal with it. All right. Welcome back to Chaotic Pubcast. Or nope. Just going to start over again. Welcome back to Chaotic Underground. Okay. Those are my nipples.
We're so good at this.
Absolutely.
Take a good breath. Give yourself a good pause so there's room to edit. Don't start like that.
Yeah, you're taking a like, what's going on over there?
Trust me, give it time. Hey guys, welcome back to Chaotic Underground. I said that right this time. It's been a while for us. I don't know if it has been for you. Maybe it has. I just recently wrapped up a wonderful trip to Seattle, Washington, and our good friend over there, I think it's over there, Ryan, had just wrapped up a trip to Chicago. How'd that bad boy go, buddy?
Man, it was great. I went for work initially, and then I just stayed to just get a little bit of vacation in, and I did some really cool stuff that I couldn't normally do in Little Rock, Arkansas. I went to a Star Wars burlesque show. I went to a drunk Shakespeare rendition of Macbeth. I went to a Cubs game. That was really fun.
Okay. I'm gonna stop you there. Like you kind of like messed up the ranking. Like you started with Star Wars burlesque and then went down to Cubs game. Like one's baseball and the other one's titties.
I did it in reverse chronological order. So it was the latest ones in my memory to the furthest ones away.
Oh, that's good news. Okay.
No particular order. Right.
So that sounds like a
you guys did all the traveling. I stayed at home and put myself through my own literal hell of work. I'm basically working 2 full-time jobs right now.
So it's a fun trip to Salt Lake this week.
Yeah, I took my vacation to the Great Salt Lake City, where I reside.
It sounds like a skill issue if I ever heard one. So
yep.
But I also enjoyed a little bit of downtime in Seattle, Washington. I drank a lot of really strong beers and ciders, and hung out in weather that is about 30 degrees cooler than my home state here in Texas.
God, I love the Northwest. I love the Northwest so much.
It's beautiful, but it's packed together really hardcore. It's unique. You can walk to a grocery store, but then finding a public restroom requires an act of Congress.
I like to go to Portland. Read my book in Portland. I fly over, I go to my apartment, I got my records, got my book.
I love that impression.
I love that Bill Hader interview so much.
It's freaking
fly over.
So while we did have some leisure time, we also have been spending the last 2 weeks in the foreseeable future like getting our shit together physically. And how's that been going? So we started a new kind of like workout challenge, lifestyle challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You guys enjoying it?
Z, you go first.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like you guys issued this challenge, but I already do that stuff, so it's like, yes, I do enjoy it.
For you, good sir.
But you were drinking a gallon of water a day.
Yeah, I was already. Yeah, I've been drinking a gallon of water a day for like.
Then just say it's going good, man. You're gonna rub it in your face.
I am rubbing it in your faces, okay? I want everybody to know exactly how hard I've worked for how many years, okay?
I bet you.
I am in the past 3 years. I am down 50 pounds. So
congratulations, that's great. All that alkaline water, handlebar mustache, riding that Pee Wee Herman bike around.
25 of those pounds are mustache wax. So.
No, I will say, like, I've seen I see on social media, like I've seen older pictures of you, and I'm not saying like you look bad or anything, but like the difference is clear, man. Like it's a new person.
Like I disappeared from a group of friends for like 6 months, and they saw me, and they thought I was like had like bulimia or anorexia or something, and which no shame to those people at all, but they were actually more concerned than anything. I'm like, no, I just don't drink whiskey like Gatorade anymore. And it's
it's great.
That's
great
my
to hear.
current mission as well.
Yeah.
That's not.
I'm proud of you guys. I'm really proud of you guys. Actually,
my current mission is to try to not consume my body weight in food constantly. Actually, like the kind of like cutting out drinking for the most part. I said I drank in Seattle. I did. I took a little bit of a hiatus, which I'm terrible at these challenges for that. But the food thing has been the toughest thing for me, is because I like cooking good food, and the problem is good food likes to stick onto my sides and my front and my back and my top and my bottom. So yeah, that's been an adjustment, but the water thing has been really, really good. The first like week I peed constantly, but now I'm better. I think my body's working better. That's great.
Really? I mean, it's a good thing if you're peeing a lot, and
get the poisons out.
Get the poisons out. Anyway, so Stephen, what are we what are we doing today?
That's right. We are Chaotic Underground. We talk about monsters, ghoulies, ghosties, conspiracies, and weird history moments that we've covered over the period of time, and sometimes just regular ass history. Depends on our mood, really.
So help me if this is another Asian monster, Stephen. If this is another Asian monster.
Was Ryan like wiping his brow because I managed to avoid accidentally using a slur again?
Yes.
when you go on those tangents, like when you'll get the Stephen thing, you'll like list off, like you'll do sentences like, all right, where we're going to the land of Japan, and where we got frogs, chopsticks, ramen, insert racial slur here by accident.
I don't do that. I did that once, and I didn't even know. Okay.
Yeah. To be fair, you were unaware that it was.
I just like spooky things.
Oh my god.
But with that in mind, we are actually in Asia, but not Japan like I usually am. We are in the Philippines, as a matter of fact, and specifically more focused on the island of Panay. I think that's how it's said. Look, I'm gonna mess up some of these cultural words, so forgive me ahead of time.
Three white dudes on a podcast.
Yep, 3 white dudes in a podcast. Middle-aged white man.
I really don't. I'll be honest. I don't know. I know quite a bit about a few Asian countries, but I'm not as fluent or familiar with the Philippines.
You want a quick rundown?
Well, I am mostly because I've worked where I used to work. We would have people from the Philippines come work with us on J1 visas, and so like by proxy, I learned a lot about the culture. So but I will probably mispronounce everything horribly as well. So
the Philippines is something I'm very familiar with because I grew up in the military, and military kids, we travel. We move a lot of places, and you encounter a lot of different cultures. I engage with a lot of folks from the Philippines. It's a very common place for people to be sent, military wise. But a quick rundown of how this works is essentially like some people think that some groups of like pygmies and different groups from Africa moved into the islands, which are south of Taiwan, about east of Vietnam, that sort of thing. So they all kind of like migrated over there. Interestingly enough, they basically had the Spanish coming in to kind of explore, invade, whatever you want to call it.
Conquist.
Conquist to conquerors.
Yes, indeed. So that is way back. I believe it's the 16th century is when it happened. Because I'm going to try to avoid looking as much as humanly possible and just go with my knowledge right off the dome.
Yeah, you don't have to give me the whole history of the Philippines.
I'm going to give you the cliff notes. Spanish show up, they chase them off. Spanish show back up, they take over, institute Christianity in a big freaking way. Basically about
Christians.
Basically about 87% of the population got converted to Christianity immediately.
Just against their will, you're a Christian now.
I don't know how missionary work works. It sounds like they convinced them, but there's stories everywhere. So
they just show up with super soakers and start spraying them all. You're welcome to the church.
You're all baptized from a distance. Congratulations. Yeah. But ultimately, eventually, the Spanish-American War would happen because the folks from Fillipino would fight and the Americans would come help. Except that they wouldn't leave, so they stayed. So Americans' presence stayed there after the Spanish-American War until World War II, if I recall, 1942, if I recall correctly. And MacArthur promised to return. And General MacArthur in this case, and they did.
MacArthur will return in Avengers.
King Dynasty. It's a MacArthur variant.
Oh no, but so
He who MacArthur remains.
yeah. So there was this whole there was a period of time where it was all Christianity. I did mention that, but one of the reasons why revolution broke out was this guy that wrote about how white people had invaded the Philippines, essentially.
I
And
take offense.
and he wrote a book that literally translated to I think it's like the internal cancer or something like that. It's something like that. Basically talking about how we should return to our roots as people and our own culture and things like that. And it literally set off a revolution. That's when the Americans joined in and so forth and so on. So 1942 rolls around, World War II is going on, Japan takes over the Philippines, like a lot of areas in Asia, and then MacArthur does return and takes back over the Philippines. It's one of the reasons we have a big presence military-wise over there. And then,
He's like, we're done with segregation. We want to come back.
we are caught up to modern day. They do have presidents, if I recall correctly, and everything. So that's where they are. But they have embraced their culture quite a bit, and that's where we learn about the Aswang. Aswang is
How do you spell that, by the way?
Yeah, what is
ASWANG.
Aswang. Aswang.
A swang.
Are we pronouncing it right? First off,
Yes,
like is
I
it
did.
Aswang?
I did look that up. I'm at least as close as white people can pronounce it.
We're like highly confident it's not Aswang.
No, it's not Aswang for sure. That's
Are you sure?
That's a video on Pornhub. So
I can't even access Pornhub anymore.
oh, that's right. You're in Utah.
Yep.
Wow.
That's a story for another day. I didn't know anything about that. Don't go into
Oh,
it,
well.
but I would like to know.
The year was 2023, right?
No. Why do you make it sound like I'm telling the story? All right.
I don't know.
So the Aswang are basically these creatures of the night. They are monsters, specifically shape-shifting monsters in the culture of the Philippines.
Shapeshifters, like spiritual, like are they?
No, like
ghosty or-
physically can change their shape into animals, humans, things like that.
Wait, so are they just? Yeah, they were
They're like druid scrolls.
Sorta.
Are we sure that they're just not seeing actual cats and dogs, and people? Like, this is just the rambling of crazy people?
Hey, we'll get to debunking after we know what they are.
Yes,
I'm really just eager to debunk this already.
I know you are. And as a matter of fact, the entire island is trying to debunk it to a certain degree. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to talk to you about how I found out about the Aswang. I don't know anything about Filipino culture in a big way until I've engaged with people in the military and my own experiences. But the way I did find out about this is, do you guys know of an NBC show called Grimm?
I've heard of it. I know nothing of it though.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown real quick. Grimm is
I'm just like ignorant as shit on this episode.
absolutely, and apparently you're missing out on good stuff.
Seriously.
Grimm is a NBC television show. It was an hour long each episode, but the idea was the main character was of the Grimm, like of Grimm's fairy tales descent, and he could detect supernatural monsters, and so it was kind of a monsters of the week sort of thing.
Yeah, okay, I was about to ask.
Like
yeah.
werewolves.
So this was like a drama type series.
Yeah.
I thought when you said NBC, I don't know why my mind started going to like some like real news reporting type.
No, this was like one of their. This is actually because they got 5 seasons. Its main overarching its main overarching story kind of went a little off the rails towards the end, but the overall story of it is this guy can see mythical monsters, werewolves, all the stuff from like Grimm's fairy tales, but also things from other cultures. And one episode is about the Aswang, and I was terrified by this thing. It's scary as hell. So we are going to get into it right now. The Aswang is actually a little more complicated than just a one-off monster. It is a description used for a group of monsters that really fall into 5 different categories. It kind of changes based on, and it's very reminiscent and parallel to other mythical creatures, and the main one that we really kind of see is vampires is one of the big one. So an Aswang vampire basically has a long spiked tongue that it uses to suck the blood from its prey.
Oh, almost like the Reapers from Blade 2, you know?
Yeah, a little bit.
You ever see Blade 2? Yeah, how they had like the predator mandibles and everything. And
yeah, it's a little bit like that. So like these creatures are still creatures of the night. They operate primarily in the evening, and the vampire version primarily takes the form of a female during the day. They lose most of their powers and like real scariness during the day, but they can still operate. And like one of the big things they do is they actually will transform into a female and integrate themselves into villages and things like that, get married, and basically drain the husband.
What?
No. I'm sure of it.
No,
she's a vampire.
Look, Mr. Officer,
No,
I need you to know her tongue was wild. And he's like, I know you have a great sex life. No, she's taking my blood. And it's like, I'm sure she is. I bet she sucks real good.
Come back inside.
This sounds like this is like the plot of a Rob Schneider movie now.
Oh, no. That's just because we're trying to tell it.
Rob Schneider married a vampire. Oh, what will he do?
so yes, this is the first version that I really know of it. It basically, like I said, it transforms into a beautiful woman. It's got the long, spiky, proboscis like tongue. It's got sharp teeth. But the cool thing is it doesn't really live in tombs or anything. It lives in forests if it doesn't infiltrate into society. So that's something you'll see a lot of. Is like there's a lot of kind of nature around there, and so it's very common for creatures like this to live in the woods, or I guess the jungle. They're
not really into urban living.
Seems
really.
like a jungly place.
Yeah.
So there's also stories of this, that the vampire one will actually get married and move in with the husband, but then spend her nights raiding other villages and just sucking the blood of other people at other villages. So you could be completely married to the most beautiful woman you've ever met, and she just goes off in the middle of the night as a demoness to use her extremely long tongue to suck the blood out of her victims.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I do know about the Philippines. Maybe I've been there. Sounds like a few relationships of mine.
This explains so much. This joke's never going to get old the entire time we record this. So there is a little bit of precedence for Aswang becoming actually pretty culturally relevant in the country, in the area of the Philippines. Most of the population believes that they have seen or experienced an Aswang. This is something that's overwhelmingly reported. Like,
when you say overwhelmingly, what do you mean? Like
83% of Filipinos believe and worry about the Aswang. In reality,
really,
like no question about it whatsoever.
Who took this poll?
Did they send out census workers with clipboards? Like, do you believe in the Aswang or not?
So this is where you get into
Is your wife good with a tongue?
So long and spiky.
We haven't
every day.
We haven't hit the fully weird stuff yet, so I'm looking forward to the rest of this.
Does she do fully weird things?
Only the members of this podcast.
Why did these Filipino census takers sound like 1940s American newscasters?
Play me off, Lou.
So, in the Filipino culture, history and stories are passed down orally. And this is extremely important because...
Nice.
I can't take you boys anywhere, can I?
Dude, it's been a while. I've missed you. I've missed you.
You say that after I say orally. All right.
Nice.
Anyways, so their history and their traditions are passed orally. So the stories of the Aswang are... Shut up! I swear to God. I see. For those that are seeing my angle right now, there's two other people's angle that are literally trying not to crack up right now.
I was shaking my head at him.
No, I saw you like Yeah, I saw. Anyways, so the traditions and the stories are passed along. Nope, not saying it anymore, you motherfuckers.
Damn it!
Verbally.
Verbally.
That
God.
fine, God. So the traditions and stories are passed along through families and friends and stuff like that. So you don't judge your friends and family as crackpots. You don't tell them, "Oh, we don't believe you. You're trying to share this experience with us. We're not going to believe you." So and of course it's also a very heavily religious area, a very Catholic area. Again, 80% of the population being Catholics is a big part of their culture as well. But this has led to a lot of the Aswang story kind of changing and manipulating over time, just like the shape shifting that they go through. Which is great because it's the inspiration for one of the goofiest looking horror movies you've ever watched.
What's it called?
It's literally called Aswang. It's from 1993, I believe, by what is it? I think it's Barry something. Let's see, I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick.
Ooh, 5.5 out of 10 stars.
Yes,
I'm in.
yes. It is
Better than average.
Barry Pulterman and Wire Martin, and so they visited the Philippines and heard about this story and decided to make this movie. And this movie is it's basically about this girl that gets kind of sold, like she gets talked into marrying a rich guy because she has an unwanted pregnancy, and she's going to sell the baby essentially.
Okay.
But it turns out that in Wisconsin, of all places, there's this old manor that they go back to, and it turns out that everybody in the old manor, including the mother and the son and all the family, are Aswang, and they want to eat the baby. Cue terrible special effects and acting across the board, because this was Wisconsin. It was 1993. They had very little budget, but there is a fun fact about this movie.
Looks like it's 94, by the way, just to keep it
my
honest.
bad. My
No,
bad.
it's fine.
Close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. No, I just didn't want people in the comments to be like, yeah, actually,
hand grenades and horseshoes, baby.
Whose favorite movie is Aswang?
If you ever get on YouTube and correct somebody who's off by 1 year on the most unknown movie in existence,
touch grass.
Go outside.
Just go outside. Just get off. You too much Reddit there, buddy.
So the fun fact about this movie is one of the characters in the movie is actually played by the original drummer from the Violent Femmes.
What?
Yeah.
Man, that's
Which character?
I didn't go that deep. I'm sorry.
I'll find it. Keep going though. I'll find
it. But the point is, that was just a fun little thing. We're gonna move on to one of the more fun. I guess fun's a weird way to put that. Another type of Aswang that are out there is one of the more familiar ones and the most commonly portrayed as the viscera sucker. And I'm gonna butcher this name. It's also known as manananggal, and it basically feeds on a diet of internal organs, and specifically sometimes fetuses of pregnant women.
So it's like essentially like a straw, like a Slurpee straw or a boba tea straw.
Yeah,
okay.
It's got some other stuff, but yeah, like it's essentially gonna slurp up the baby, essentially.
Slurp up the baby. hashtag new sentences.
Baby Slurpee. It's a baby Slurpee.
A nice Filipino plan B, if you will.
Oh. Yowza.
So by day,
it's been weeks, man. I'm unchained. I'm unfiltered.
So during the day, it actually takes the shape of like an attractive, light-skinned and long-haired woman. And this is where it gets fucking weird. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is where it gets weird.
Yeah, like
trust me. You think sucking fetuses out of the womb of a woman as sustenance, along with other internal organs, is weird?
So help me, if this thing feeds on buttholes, Steven.
You gotta go. Not so weird.
If this is another butthole monster, I swear to God. Is
Hold
it a butthole monster?
Hold on.
Let
Look,
man speak.
There's a lot of ways to get into a body's internal organs. I'm just saying. All right. Okay.
I feel like he did this on purpose.
I did not do it on purpose. I swear to God. Okay, so I'm gonna fine. I'll just explain it ahead of time. So there are historical accounts of the Aswang
From using that word loosely.
It's from 1589. Is Friar Juan de Palasenquia, and its customs of the Tagalogs. And he said, I'm just going to read this short. The sixth was called Siligan, whose office it was, if they saw anyone clothed in white, to tear out his liver and eat it, thus causing his death. This, like the preceding, was in the island of Caraduanes. Let no one, moreover, consider this a fable, because in Calavan they tore out in this way through the anus all the intestines of a Spanish notary, who was
Fucking
buried
knew it.
in Calalaya by Father Fray Juan de Merida.
All right, Steven. It's about the butthole monsters, man. This is your intervention.
Whatever. I don't need this kind of judgment. Look, it just happened.
We're gonna modify that workout plan.
It just happened that I decided on an Asian monster that just so happened on occasion to use an anus to get to the internal organs.
We are so like making a butthole monster merch shirt now because it's just become a meme at this point. Yeah, pick one.
It's like a Pokemon.
It'll be a random shirt. You won't know which butthole monster you're gonna get.
Or it's like choosing your first starter Pokemon, except you choose from butthole demons.
Butthole monster demons. You get the Kappa, the Shirimi, or the Aswang.
I don't know about this one, Professor Oak.
Just to confirm, we're sure it's not pronounced Aswang, right?
You know,
I'm only 10 years old, Professor.
I was just typing Aswang as the episode title, so I'd remember it when I saw this recording in our platform. And I was like, as I typed it, I was like, this is the Tyler the Creator album. I'm sure of it.
We haven't finished the weirdness of the Viscerator.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. So the Viscerator actually...
Speaking of butt weight.
I'm so sorry, Steven. But I'm not.
Are you guys ready to be serious? All right. Are you ready to be serious? Because I'm serious. Just look at my face.
Aww.
Serious.
Oh, Dad's mad at us.
You're damn right, Dad's mad at you.
All right.
All right. Go on.
All right.
Talking about your ass wing.
Okay, so the Viscerator actually has another important quality to know about. And this is what's unique about it. Is so during the day, it takes the appearance of a young lady, the whole body. But during the night, it segments itself. It tears the top part of the body from the bottom, and typically will hide or bury the bottom half of the body, and it will grow wings, and its jaw will extend, and the proboscis like tongue will be there, and it will fly around to seek its prey. Of course,
it's like a Zubat.
Yeah,
essentially
Pokemon.
Yeah, and gotta catch them all.
So, have there been any like actual like sightings or newspaper or any like blurry pictures?
There's nothing like that because, as I said, and all of the stories, all of the sightings, and most information is shared orally.
Gotcha.
So that's where you get a lot of this. But there's actually an Aswang festival. So some cultures celebrate the existence of it. One of the big things they just celebrate any parts of their culture. It's the same thing as
probably like the Mothman. There's a Mothman Day,
No, this is actually part of their culture, and they embrace it to a certain degree. It needs to be understood that the Aswang is known to be evil. If you ask, and that's the thing is, like in my research, I found that in most interviews and things like that, the one thing that everybody agreed on, whether it's form or function or whatever the case is, everyone understood the Aswang to be evil without motive or anything like that. And the reason for that is there is a certain degree of theory on how that works. Is there's different gods, and essentially there was a good god and there was an evil god, and the evil god was the Aswang. And so the good in one version of it, the good god had fire, and it used its function to have power over humans. And Aswang wanted that, so it went and stole the fire from the good god and literally trapping it in two coconut shells to hide the light as it stole it.
You know, it just all I can think about is Steven's like random like foray into like the sexual reasoning behind Mothman, but it just makes me think of like this is just a story that like Filipino moms would tell like their young boys to like keep them from like messing with girls. It's like, don't show them any of your orifices below your waist because they might be an aswang that will just come eat your insides out.
I would like to submit to the court that I'm not the only one that thinks of inappropriate shit when we're talking about the mythology of monsters. Ryan's right there with me. And
The court recognizes your statement.
Z, let's not be coy. You too.
So are those the only two types?
So no,
like,
there are three more
like
types.
multitude?
There's three more types. Yes. So there is another form of an Aswang, which is the were-dog. This one's a little bit of a reach, in my opinion. The were-dog.
Their dog.
Deer dog or were-dog?
Who dog?
What dog? I'll give you one better. Why dog?
Oh god.
No, but seriously, it's were-dog?
Yeah, it's
like werewolf, but like were-dog.
So exactly. So the actual thought behind this is because most cultures have a were creature to refer to, and it's named after the most ferocious creature in the environment. For example, like Europe has werewolves, India has were tigers, Africa has were leopards, and Russia has were bears. So the Philippines doesn't have anything that scary, so they went with dogs.
Russia has were KGB.
So, and this is not me trying to like actively interrupt you here, Steven. But I just Googled were dog for the sake of, just to see if I get pictures. First thing on Google that popped up, were dog, handmade fantasy sex toys and dildos.
Well, culture's dead.
Culture's dead.
I don't know what to say. Even without the sex toys, if you had told me that you searched it and it said a close relative of updog, then I would also not be too surprised.
No, like I seriously, like I just Googled were dog, but I correct.
Seriously,
were dog.
This is crazy, and somehow there's two in the cart, and now they're shipping.
No, damn it! Why do you gotta dox me like that? Guy?
Expedited shipping? What? I got two holes. I got two were dogs.
God, Prime is useless.
All right,
I missed out on my Prime Day for my were dog.
So essentially, this actually is really kind of a little fluid because it kind of builds into the whole like human animal hybrid more than anything else. The most common experienced by people is a were dog, but it has also been committed to cats and pigs.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen Full Metal Alchemist.
So basically what happens is it basically infiltrates villages by turning into a creature at night around midnight. One of the big things that actually will tell people that it's an aswang is if the pig, cat, dog doesn't have a tail. So that is a dead giveaway in the sense of the culture. It kills and eats people along the road at night, primarily focusing on pregnant women because there's something delicious about fetuses.
Yeah, they really do have it out for fetuses, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And again, it's like a shapeshifter, so it's even harder to deal with. But there's some interesting kind of like culture that goes with this. And it's like things that women should not wear their long hair loose because it attracts aswang.
Really?
Yes. Okay. I think that has something to do more with like when long hair is down, you can't see as much around you. That's a guess, frankly. Okay, and last but not least, the were-dog, the animal changing type, typically disguise themselves as like peddlers and merchants and things like that to get into the community. I think
Like,
this is the
merchants,
lamest.
peddlers,
So-
like in merchants, like street merchants.
Yeah, like
Yeah, okay.
hey,
So,
you want a deal?
these ones aren't. Kajitas wear if you have coin. So these ones aren't. These are the first ones that aren't specifically like transforming into like attractive women, right? Because the
Yeah.
previous two were. These just can be anybody.
They focus on being animals during the night, and they
Mhm.
focus on being like merchants and peddlers during the daytime.
But not specifically female.
No,
But
No.
the previous two were primarily female, right?
Mhm.
Or specifically.
you need, and that's the thing is like there's a lot of theories that these guys, things, transform into females because like there's a lot of respect for fertility and goddesses in the culture in the Philippines. So it's kind of one of those things.
I'm just putting together a theory that we're on 3 of 5, and we're already covering a lot of demographics here. Probably by number 5, we're going to be able to conclude that all of the Philippines is made up of Aswangs in
Yeah.
some way or another.
Okay, so one of the big things too is most Aswangs disguised as women tend to be quite lewd and tend to take to showing off their genitals.
Seductress. Yeah.
They are definitely sexy beasts, apparently, and literally.
Like, are they sexy when they sprout the wings too? Though, like, are they still sexy?
I wouldn't
But-
describe them as that.
I mean, still
Okay.
top half. There's probably some titties.
Yeah, still titties.
No, are they like? Oh, go ahead.
So like, I love that we're going in depth into like how lewd these things actually are. Like, look, there's hentai out there. All right, just look it
Look,
up.
I'm just asking questions.
I'm just telling you the answer. There's fucking
Look,
hentai out there.
Are they
Just go
perky?
get
Sag
it.
a little bit. I gotta know. It's for research.
Rule 34, motherfucker. It exists for a reason. All right. Moving on. The fourth version of an Aswang that exists is a witch. Witches are usually very vindictive and they lay curses on people. They will actually lay curses on like rice, bones. They'll like, sorry, I apologize. Backtrack. They'll basically make a curse so that rice, bones, or insects come out of bodily orifices of the cursed person. So yes, before you ask me, that means that bugs, bones, or rice will come out of someone's butthole,
It's just
as
like
well
you
as
never know
other
which
places.
you never know what you're gonna get which day. Man, I'm hoping for another rice day. I've had 2 in a row.
I'm crying bones, baby.
Oh,
Chicken
not the
bones.
bugs.
Oh, no.
gosh.
Yeah, what an
I mean, what-
awful way to go.
I'm just curious what kind of bugs they are. Like spiders,
Usually like
maggots, locusts. Oh,
Ladybugs.
ladybugs.
So-
that sounds pleasant.
Caterpillars. Furry
Ew,
caterpillars.
ew, no. Ugh.
So this actually leads us into some of the ways that people can identify an Aswang. It's mainly attributed to witches, but apparently it extends in some areas of Panay to other types. And that is, if you look into the eyes of an Aswang, the reflection will be upside down, basically reversed and upside down.
So your reflection of their eyes, like you will be reversed and upside down. So so their eyes function differently than ours. Then
Exactly. And they usually will sometimes also have, they will have elongated irises.
like cat eyes.
Like cats.
Yeah, essentially.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they live outside of town. They're usually feared, avoided, that sort of thing.
This is specifically witches.
The witch.
Yeah, the witches.
Okay.
Now, since they're called witch, this is the witch variant of the Aswang. Does the same superstition with witches exist around this one? Like
100%. 100%.
Okay.
We're talking full Catholic country. So
Okay.
witchcraft is absolutely, and it literally says here in my notes that if somebody is suspected of being an Aswang witch, they are to be killed immediately.
with fire, I imagine, to burn them.
It just says kill. That's all
Kill.
I got.
Yeah, you either burn them or you remove the head. I
Says if an Aswang is caught, they are to be immediately killed without question.
Now, was this in 2020 or the 1500s? You know,
No, that's just across the board in general. Like, so
Across the
even
board in general.
in current times, they still have very negative and very extreme reactions to witches. I think
Listen,
they
officer,
go crazy.
I know we're on strict rations, but I promise all that rice in my stool that you see is because of this lady that lives out in the woods. Go after her.
that's like the. Can you imagine?
Oh my god.
All right. So we got a fifth one now, though, too, right?
This one's actually pretty mundane.
Saving the best for last.
100%. And that is the ghoul version of the Aswang. This is actually the most commonly used in movies, or at least the closest thing to it.
Mm-hmm.
They basically their diet consists of human corpses. They're carrion eaters. Their nails and teeth are sharp and strong to help them, like,
Rip shit apart and
steal corpses and eat corpses and shit like that.
I instantly think of. Did you ever play Warcraft 3, Steven? Like the actual game. Like there's a unit in there called the ghouls. The ghouls are actually like exactly what I'm picturing in my head. So
yeah.
So
the interesting thing about this kind of creature is, one, it can actually turn humans into a fellow ghoul.
I don't like that. That's how that stuff's always sat really uncomfortable with me. Like monsters that can turn you into that monster. Like that's why zombies never sit well with me.
Vampires,
werewolves. Stuff always.
District 8 or whatever. What was that movie?
District 9.
District 9.
Yeah,
was close. So one of the big things about ghouls, aside from being able to turn humans into fellow ghouls and mainly eating bodies, is the fact that they smell terrible because they hang out with corpses. But here's the fun thing: these guys are creative. They think ahead. They will actually cut off chunks of tree to replace in a coffin a body they've stolen to eat.
After they write out SOS with it.
yeah, absolutely.
So they're carpenters too. So wait, like they'll essentially repair the coffin, like like a teenager who like dented the car, and they'll like try and fix it before dad gets home, kind of
absolutely. Dad can't know I took the body. I need the weight to be just right. All right,
just right.
Just like it's like the odometer on the car in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
So if they primarily eat like cadavers and stuff, like who are they turning into other ghouls? Like, are they attacking alive people as well?
Is it a bite that turns you into the ghoul?
It's
one finger right up the keister,
and it's a bite essentially.
It's a bite. It's a bite.
We've covered the 5 types of Aswang. It's really interesting stuff, right? Talked a little bit about the culture. Talked a little bit about the history of the Philippines, but last but not least, and one of my favorite things to talk about, is countermeasures for the Aswang. We'll go ahead and wrap it up with the countermeasures you can take part in to scare away or slay the Aswang.
Yeah, so if you're still with us, anybody who's tuned out, they're dead, but you can have some crucial information.
Buy quirks in mass.
So there are different countermeasures, often varying depending on the cultural and symbolic significance of each tool. Holy objects, spices, salt, ash, the tail of a stingray, large crustaceans, vinegar, betel nut chew, and urine are all listed as tools for protection against Aswang. That's right. If you pee your bed, you're safe, baby.
The tails for stingrays thing kind of threw me for a loop.
No, let me tell you, Z, my favorite vegetables. We got Brussels sprouts, we got peas, we have a box of nails, we have I was not expecting
and maybe because I'm associating and granted I've never been to the Philippines at all, but I don't know what like the climate is there. So the entire time we're talking about the Aswang, I'm just thinking of a temperate zone of some kind.
That's
and
right.
so like the stingray thing is like, where the fuck are they going to get a stingray? But then again, it's probably
they're island countries.
They're island countries.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So now that just changed the entire narrative for me.
Okay, so this is where we get into some of the important things. And by important, I mean wacky, tacky. Because Aswang were believed to be the cause of miscarriages, countermeasures to drive them away and prevent them from prowling during childbirth were developed. And one method is for the husband of the childbearing wife to remain under the house naked while furiously waving a sword.
A sword? Like, does he have to be naked? Like, I think the sword not enough? Like,
No, naked has to be part of the process. It's written in stone.
that's just like going to the shady doctor, you know, that's like, I need a shot in my arm. He's like, oh, I'm going to need you to take your shirt off. You know, they're giving you advice. It's like, oh, yeah, you got to be naked. You know, it's like, I don't know. That seems a little like somebody made that up to get somebody naked.
What do you mean?
I got a good idea. I know how we can keep these Aswangs away. What you're going to need to do is go into a very dark room. Got it? And you're going to need to take off your pants. Weird. And you're going to need to swing this sword around very violently. You're like, I think,
You know what?
I think this might be something else.
You're a professional. I trust your judgment. Where's the sword? Are you prescribing the sword? Is it covered by my health insurance? Because I don't know how to get a sword
There's a
otherwise.
copay. There is a copay.
Oh, okay. Is a copay reasonable?
No, it will cost you
that's
your
awful.
entire penis, probably.
But
Oh, that's
you can open
terrible.
up an HSA if you'd like.
All right, this bit's tired. That's one moment. The sharp sticks or bolos should be inserted between the bamboos of the house floor to prevent Aswang from lurking under the house. Additionally, sick people should not stay in houses with holes. They're told not to groan in order not to attract Aswang. That's right. They like corpses. They like dying people. Get out of my house. I'm trying to have a baby. There's also a special anti-Aswang oil that can be developed.
Okay, so it's an MLM confirmed. This is just one big
boy.
MLM.
Yeah, absolutely. To make the oil, you need to select a particular coconut and watch it grow. That's right. Watch
Greetings,
it grow.
Townie. Might I interest you in a vial of this Aswang oil? It's known to cure every ailment.
You need to pick the coconut that you've been watching grow at twilight during a full moon when it is wet and gloomy. The breeze should be also chilly. The coconut should be grated and its juice must be squeezed out. Boil the mixture until it becomes oil. Recite secret prayers. Secret prayers. I don't know how you know them because they're secret. But when you recite them, you throw all the waste into the ocean so that Aswang cannot trace whoever made the oil. Once complete, the oil should be hung at the door of the house and it will boil when an Aswang is near.
The oil will boil
Yes, the oil
if an
will
Aswang is
Yep.
near.
100%.
Okay. And there's no confirmation if that's ever happened because it's all word of mouth.
Yes,
There
absolutely.
was a lot of oil.
And a lot of oil. If I give you all this oil to sell and then you give it to 10 other people with this oil to sell and they give it to 10 other people oil to sell, then you can make some serious money.
No
That's right, baby.
Aswangs. We'll never see
So-
one again.
So last but not least, to kill a witch Aswang, it's kind of special. A bolo knife can be used to strike the middle of the witch's back. That area is not struck.
Funny story. Same way you kill anyone.
Yeah,
There's
it's like
a
Attack on
second
Titan.
part of this, you smart ass. If you do
Best way
not,
to kill an Aswang, bullets. Blood loss. It's one weakness.
okay, I swear to God, I can't take you motherfuckers anywhere. If you don't strike them in the middle of their back, the witch can lick its wounds and heal its injuries. After slaying an Aswang with a bolo, the bolo must be planted under the ground. Firearms, specifically, are not advised for killing Aswang, and it is useless to stab and slash at an Aswang while it is in the form of an animal. You can use magic prayers to chase them off as well. That's the thing. So, there we go.
So guns and swords don't work, but
Prayers,
but
check.
Yeah, but prayers work.
Prayers and bolo knives.
prayers. This whole thing is just absolute shit show. Like, look, okay, so this leads me into the last thing I'm going to say about Aswang, and we're going to kind of wrap it up. One of the things that's unique about Aswang, and specifically about the Panay region, is there is a form of Parkinson's disease that affects only males, but at its highest measure, affected 1 in 4,000 male
Jesus Christ.
Filipinos. And it would lead to them entering a transformative state where their body would twist and their tongues would extend literally like their muscles couldn't hold it, so their tongues would fall out of their mouths.
This
And
is real?
Yeah.
that's a real thing. It's let's see, I actually have it here. It's called prominence of X-linked dystonia Parkinsonism. This is
Wow.
a specific version of Parkinson's that is mainly in the group of people that live in that area. To give you an example, the numbers are this: 93% of current cases today are located on Panay Island. 93%. 63% of those being located in Capiz, which is the supposed homeland of the Aswang. It's actually the place where they have the festival that I mentioned
So
earlier.
are they directly blaming the Aswang for this form of Parkinson's?
So a lot of people attribute legends of the Aswang to the onset of this disease and the people not understanding. Like, can you imagine if you're somebody who's in the community in a village and then somebody has this very extreme disease? We're talking like twist their body, their tongues are out, their eyes are drooping, things like that. They're very pale, they can't move around, and people would, oh my god, it's a demon.
Yeah.
And they make up their own stories about how dangerous it can be. And that's a lot of that's a theory of how the Aswang story came to be.
Okay. That now makes so people like they'll see this happen and then they assume like something Aswang related happened.
Yeah, like imagine, like, you need to understand, like, your tongue is a muscle. Your tongue is also very long. In reality, if you had no control over those muscles, it would just fall out of your mouth. Can you imagine that? Like, somebody's just like, moving like that, and you see their tongue, their bodies are like arched in ways that are inhuman. It's a disgusting disease. It's a terrible disease, but it is something that they basically attribute to being the source of the story of the Aswang, because it only affects people from that region. They trace it back to ancestors of that region.
Well, there's the debunk right there.
Yeah.
You know, well, yeah. I mean, we really don't have to theorize.
No, exactly.
There it is.
Sure would be a shame if that oil caused it.
Now, did any of them get one of those that magic snake oil that they made and go up to one of these poor people that were afflicted with this and see if it boiled? You know, like.
So the thing is that this sort of story has existed since 1589, and the reality
is been lost along the way or embellished.
Yeah, 100%. You have Spanish stories. Like, to give you an example, so I told you the story about the anus, the intestines came out of the anus sort of situation. Right. They attribute it to an Aswang.
I remember.
How could I forget?
How could we all forget? But this is a thing that could essentially happen in an extreme case for somebody that suffers from a kind of disease in the area and things like that. I'm not saying it's necessarily this Parkinson variant, but there's also dysentery. Dysentery is a nasty business. So
yeah,
I think that ultimately I think the stories of the Aswang are valid to the people. I think much like most stories of cryptids and monsters, it kind of keeps us in check to a certain degree. But they are born out of real, actual circumstances. The Spanish suffered from diseases and eating certain things they've never eaten before, having an effect on their body and causing them illnesses and really nasty side effects. And then you have a group of people who do not understand what Parkinson's is, do not understand what, come on. We were basically locking up people who had autism and mental illnesses and shocking them and lobotomizing them until the 1960s.
Recently.
That was the
1960s. That was like 50, 60 years ago, tops. So it wouldn't be a far stretch.
Yeah, and when we were born, like, it was only like 10 years prior, or 15 years prior. And so it's just like, it was right behind us. There's a lot of things like that you really think of. You're like, oh, wow. You know, it's like, I think it was like a woman couldn't like have a credit card until like the 70s.
The reality is like, so humans only understand things as they see them. And we learn along the way. We like medicine develops, psychology develops, things like that. And we go, oh wait, it wasn't that thing. So you're talking about an island nation, underdeveloped, constantly being kind of overrun by foreigners who experience different diets and things like that. And even going through like literally a genetic specific Parkinson's disease, it's easy to see how people can through oral, like basically a very cultural version of telephone, turn a real disease, something they don't understand, into a mythical monster.
Dude, thank you so much. That was actually really cool because once again, it's one of those topics I never would have heard of had you not brought it to the table, probably.
You always do come up with like the most
Yeah.
like obscure, like we're over here doing like DB Cooper and stuff, and then you come in and it's like let's talk about yokai, and so it's nice.
That being said, we do have a lot more content for Chaotic Underground planned for the next few weeks. As all of you know, Oppenheimer just came out and it's kind of taken the world by storm. It's phenomenal, and it's kind of got us going down like this World War II Manhattan Project rabbit hole, which led me on some other rabbit holes. I've been doing a lot of reading. So we have a multi-part series coming up, kind of around Manhattan Project, World War II, but kind of some of the stories that everything you've ever seen doesn't touch on. We're going to be starting it off talking about the OSS, which is kind of the precursor to the CIA and the crazy shit they got into during World War II that was directly influenced to Manhattan Project. And then a few other just out there stories that are beyond fiction, right? So hope you stay tuned. It'll be a nice little segue if you've seen Oppenheimer to kind of fill in some of the gaps and give you some fun knowledge. Yeah. So with that being said, if you want to see those, even if you don't, make sure to like this video, subscribe, leave us a comment down below. What would you like to hear about? Tell us what you think about those Aswangs.
I'm looking forward to the Oppenheimer stuff. I'm looking forward to the Manhattan Project stuff. I don't know anything about it. I genuinely do not. Because you had mentioned that you were looking into it, and you too, Z, to a certain degree, I actively chosen not to. So when we go into this, guys, and I want you to understand, when we go into this, I know nothing for once. I usually know everything, but I'll tell you
as a former as a military person, you're gonna be like, holy shit, how the fuck did they do this? Like not even, I don't know, you would never even believe some of this stuff is true. And I promise you, most of this stuff makes Inglourious Bastards look like a normal operation.